Gruesome Magazine.
Hello once again, I'm your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and theatrical horror films. Each week, my Grue-Crew, the Gruesome Magazine Grue-Crew, will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. We just, right out of the gate, bam! Tonight, hang in. It gets better. Tonight, we review EXHUMA, available streaming on Shudder beginning June 14th, 2024. Going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to this. This is an interesting film. But before we get into it, let me introduce my crew, starting off with Crystal Cleveland the Livi6dead6irl. How you doing?
I'm fabulous. How are you doing?
Fabulous. Yes,
hey.
you are fabulous. Thumbs up.
No, we have Christopher.
Do you want to do it? You want?
Why are you doing it in a haunting voice like I'm a ghost or something?
Also
joining us.
I thought he was going to join me. I thought he was going to like Christopher. And I was like waiting. Okay.
Oh, see what I do with it. All right. Also joining this week is award-winning filmmaker. Say it with me, Crystal. Christopher G. Moore. We don't do this every week at all. So
intro. That's
professional AF.
Intro
well, you know what? I've dug a.
Oh God.
I've dug a hole in the ground for you, Crystal. So just know.
Thank you.
Don't
okay, so the shovel reminds me of Baldur's Gate 3 because you have to carry around a shovel to dig up these like plots. That's so random.
D&D? Okay. Did you just set D&D?
Yeah.
You just went D&D on us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a video game, but it is D&D. Yes, it is based on Dungeons and Dragons, which is wonderful.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Nerd.
All right. If you guys are wondering, haven't figured it out, we are going to be reviewing EXHUMA, which is streaming on Shudder. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. What we're going to do is we're going to give you our first impressions. The first impressions will be spoiler free. Then we're going to dive into a discussion about the film. We will get into spoilers then, most likely, and there are spoilers. And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scenes. All right, and of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review but many others we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friends buttons. Each click will help us find more horror fans, just like you. And you're cool. All right, let's take a look at the car and get things going. I don't know. All right. I'm killing myself. EXHUMA 2024, Shudder, available streaming on Shudder beginning June 14th, 2024 on Shudder. The synopsis says, the process of excavating an ominous grave unleashes a dreadful consequences buried underneath. It is written and directed by Yang Jae-hyun, something close to that. And the cast includes, and I'm apologize in advance, Kim Go-eun, Choi Min-sik, Lee Do-hyun, Jung Young-ha, Hae-jin, and Hong Seo-jun.
That's better than I could do. I'm not lying. That's not bad.
I just mumbled a lot.
It's probably horrible, but it's better than I could do. Okay.
On a rarity. This is a rarity.
Yeah.
You've opened some portal to hell.
Yes. We'll make it through. We'll survive. Just stick together and paint stuff on our face. All right, let's get into.
No, that's what I should have done. That would have been so.
Oh my gosh! What a minute.
Too late. Too late, Crystal. Thinking about it after the fact doesn't count.
No, snap. All right, let's find out what our first impressions are. Crystal, you start us off.
Okay, so I knew nothing about this film going in. I do love Korean horror, and just as much as I love K-pop. I'm kidding. I'm not really a K-pop person. BTS, you're
But
awesome.
You like J-horror though, right?
Do you even know what BTS is actually a K-pop band?
Yes.
Oh,
I forget what is it? I forget what I don't even know, but I know what it stands for. But yeah.
So anyway, I had no idea what we were watching going into this film, and when I started watching the film, I was like, okay. So they're like shamans, and we won't give anything away. This is not going to be spoilery. Like you pretty much know this. They're shamans, and a dad feels like his son is cursed. His whole family is cursed because the firstborn, has all these issues or whatever going back generations. And so they're trying to unravel the mystery here as to why this family is having these issues. And one of the dudes is like a feng shui expert. And so like part of his thing is like they find plots for people to be buried for, their burial services, like the perfect places. Like they rate the plots like up to 100 as to whether they're good or bad and whether it faces north and stuff. It's very odd, but also kind of cool. I really enjoyed it. I think all the actors are phenomenal. So I really did like this movie. I felt like it could have been shortened quite a bit. It was a little long for me, not going to lie. There was a point where I was like, okay, it's a little long. It starts off slower, and then it gets into, I see what you're saying, Doc. Then it gets into like a whole different thing in the film, which I don't want to give anything away, which goes into this whole Japanese angle, and I actually really loved that. And that part's actually really cool. It is a little disjointed from the beginning, but you do have a bridge. I mean, you see how you get there. So fine, whatever. They kind of merge a few things. It's like they talk about, the kitsune, which is funny because there's the kitsune, which is a fox, if you don't know, like the nine tails thing. And then Kitsune, actually, there's like a Yu-Gi-Oh card that has like Kitsune of the Kitsune clan. So I'm wondering how, I don't know all the lore of that, but I'm wondering how those two actually work together because foxes come into play within this movie, which is very interesting. Foxes are always like the tricksters. So anyway, yeah, I liked it. It's got some really decent gore. I really like when they show the creature, the entity fully. It's very cool looking. They did some clever edits to where you don't see all that much as far as like some of the kills, but they were fun. I enjoyed them. Like I said, my biggest gripe about this film is that I feel like it could have been cut. But I did like the development of the characters, and I enjoyed the characters, and I felt for them. So, I mean, they did some good character development. So that made me like them. But yeah, maybe tighten it up about 10 more minutes, and it would have been a quicker feeling watch.
Right. Yeah, it is 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Yeah, it was long. Yep. It was long. Yeah.
Christopher G. Moore, sir, what is your first impression of EXHUMA?
Well, I'm always a fan of bringing horror into different types of cultures and folklore and that kind of stuff. And I think this definitely does a great job of it because they almost have these people who, like Crystal mentioned, almost like shamans or like, because it's almost like, like you're even like exorcists and stuff from America and stuff. So you have these people who have their methods and they're very, very traditional, and they do all these different weird things, involving like animal sacrifice and other things, and utilizing music and other things as well. So I found it to be very intriguing. It is very slow, and I will say, yeah, it's too long. I almost feel like this could have been made as 2 movies, because I think that the first main part could have been a movie, and they could have ended it and then teased the second film. Because it feels like 2 stories. So I think that feels kind of disjointed, like Crystal said. And it does feel long in parts. And I think I agree. I think that the second part is much more interesting because I think I wasn't expecting to go there. So it takes it a whole different direction. And the way they tease that entity is really cool and kind of creepy. I'm not sure if I think the first part was really interesting, but I think once we started seeing the paranormal aspect of it, because they went out of their way to hide it in like a reflection so much, it became repetitive and not really that scary or as interesting, I guess. But I think it's shot really well. It's definitely well acted. And I think, and once they bring certain things, you're kind of like, oh crap, what's going to happen with this, and how is this going to happen? And then, I mean, without giving too much away, there's a baby that you from the very beginning you think could be in peril. It's like, oh crap, are they going to go there?
They get close.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things like that I think are very interesting. But yeah, I think it's a really. It definitely feels kind of fresh because of its perspective and the folklore involved, and as someone that's been delving into Japanese folklore for the script for Back of Creep that I'm doing, and when it comes to yokai, or you mentioned the kitsune, which are fox creatures that can shapeshift into human form.
Cool.
So I think you have a film that goes beyond the normal paranormal trappings that it kind of sets up. And in that second half, you're like, oh crap, what the heck is this? What is this thing? And it gets really kind of interesting. But I think but at the same time, I feel like there's moments where they don't, they just,
it could be
they stick too long in these scenarios. And there's moments where I don't mind it as much when they're talking about things and you see they're acting and they're pondering, but there's like certain scenarios that happen, especially when they're fighting the entity and stuff, when it's like they just, okay, get along, little doggy. Let's get along, little doggy. Let's get it going. I think I think it definitely could have used some editing, but again, this almost feels like two movies edited together, because you have one part that's its own type of story that kind of leads into the second part, but then the second part is a whole different thing. And I think when you start putting the puzzle pieces together and you're figuring like, oh crap, what is this? What is that? It gets kind of interesting. But yeah, I it has its flaws, but I think, I mean, I was still kind of enthralled with the ideas that are in it, and the story and the folklore, and it went places I wasn't kind of expecting. And I think because we've seen so many movies, we've seen every which way you can dealing with ghosts and stuff. But this, I'd never seen any of the kind of stuff that they were doing. So yeah, it's a really interesting story.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I agree with you, Christopher. The pacing, especially the first half, is an issue. There are many times during the first half of this film that, while I was interested and I cared for the characters and the film is really well made, I was honestly losing interest. I was becoming bored with the story. It felt repetitive in and of itself. And really, I didn't feel like it was really reaching anywhere, and it felt mundane in a way. Really well made, though. I mean, I was at this, at the same time, I really, enjoyed getting to know the characters, and the scenario that they were in was interesting enough, but it was just like you said, moving along at a blah, and then something really crazy happens. And it is built out in chapters. So I think we go from chapter 3 to 4 when it shifts, if I remember correctly. And then it just goes bonkers. And it immediately, when that started happening, it caught my attention, and I was glued for the rest of it, because I was like, what the hell is this? What is this? I know when I figure this out. And I really enjoyed that. And it is so good that it elevates the first half, because it is related. The what's happening in the first half informs the second half, and then, to be honest, some of the stuff we find out in the second half informs the first half. So but it could be. I think we've all come to the same conclusion that it could be 2 episodes of a TV thing, and maybe that's what, I don't know. I don't know. I'm speculating there, but in the end, I really enjoyed this. This was really good. Primarily because I liked the 4 main characters so damn much by the time we got to that jump. And I think the first half is needed to get that cemented for that other story to work. But I really did. I like, there's 2 groups of people that handle decidedly 2 different things, but work in concert to, fight spirits, or evil spirits in this case. And most of the time they're not quite as extraordinary as the second half. And I guess I'm saying I really, really enjoyed it.
Did you? Okay, because I wasn't. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell. So
No,
I'm
I
like,
did.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. There was just a part like after I got to know the characters in the first half and things started happening. Who was happening or what was happening wasn't all. It just didn't feel new and fresh. That part of it. So it started getting repetitive, and I started losing interest. But when it flipped, I was back in 120% and ended up just loving it. I thought it was really good. Now, one last thing I want to say before we move into the discussion is this film is full of what we call in the States local color. It is, it has all kinds of Korean background, and it involves their relationship with Japan from the way it was, not so much the way it is now, but the way it is. They have very, precise opinions about Japanese history. That comes into effect here. It may not make sense to a lot of casual viewers. And of course you got the whole shaman background, and then the location and the whole, there's a lot about where people are buried and the survivors having the right to say yay or nay, and they can't do things unless they do. The next of kin, I guess. I forget what they call him in the movie, but all that stuff I ate up. I ate up all that. I loved all that stuff, and it just made. I also was glad that it was in Korean with subtitles, because hearing their natural emotions through their voice, especially for some of the more subdued performances, like the young lady, really help. Because she's rather stoic for the most part, while the others are, a little bit more animated.
And they even go to America for part of it.
Yeah, they're in LA. Yeah.
There's maybe a little.
It starts actually in America.
Yeah,
and that's where the family is. So
and there's a little bit of English, which they have subtitles for as well. But yeah, I thought that. I mean, I think for me the most interesting thing, maybe I haven't watched enough Asian films before. This is the first time I've ever seen like a Korean horror film where the ghost, they find out the ghost is like Japanese, so it ends up being like,
I mean, that's what's wild about it.
So
it's
like,
not, wait, what?
So it's not only just an Asian horror story, but it's almost like I've never seen that kind of cross culture.
Well, they also have Buddhism too, because the stuff that's written on the dude is Buddhist.
Well, but
that's so cool.
Well, there's also the one guy's also
they quote the Bible. I know.
Yeah. So I kept thinking wow, I've never seen an integration of so many different to where it's almost like in order to fight spirits, it's almost like the guy in like the Mummy film that had all the different things on his necklace, like a cross and a Jewish symbol, to be able to fight off.
No. Here, look, it's like I guess what the Exorcist believer tried to do, combining religions, and failed.
Well, I think there's ways of doing that sometimes. I think nowadays
this
it's
was fine here.
I think nowadays
it works.
Yeah, I think nowadays I think they're just trying to be like, we're trying to be, I guess, to a diversity of religions. But I did find that I think those ideas seem to be fresh. I think just knowing that they talk about how the difference between like Korean ghosts and like Japanese.
I know.
Ghosts,
I thought that was very interesting.
I don't know if that's ever been a thing, but Japanese ghosts will just
they'll eat everything, right?
They'll eat everything, kill it. And so I was like, what? So Korean ghosts just like, hey.
Well, they like to jump around and.
But I did like the mythology, or at least the mythology they were building when it came to that, and also just how it kind of ties into almost like World War II stuff. And
because it's so old.
But yeah, that to me that angle, and I think the historical angle was interesting. I think I think anytime they're utilizing some new form to battle evil or whatever is very interesting, because it almost, I hate to say it, it almost felt like Native American or whatever when they're doing like the drums and the chants and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
her
yeah,
little
yeah. And
ritual
I know
things
that
she was
I know,
doing.
but I know Japanese cultures do that too. But it's just like I think how are they doing that? And I found it very interesting. Like, oh, you have to when they had to have because it almost felt very voodoo-y, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that again, it's like because of I haven't really seen that kind of stuff before. That draws my eye to it first because it's like again, we've seen everything under the sun, and when you can introduce something kind of new to the horror genre, that and maybe because we're idiotic Americans, we're not used to seeing that stuff. But to me, it seemed kind of fresh and interesting. From perspective of having to fight evil and the paranormal.
Counting their money.
It's that evil Japanese ghost.
Yeah.
Oh wait, like he had that coin that he threw in. You trying to throw a coin in the grave? Is that what's?
Or he'd like,
the one guy.
He'd eat the dirt.
Eat the dirt.
But yeah,
the one guy would always pickpocket stuff.
Well, just
the
how
he's being cursed and he's bleeding red, bleeding blood. Rather.
Well, I mean, like for instance, it's like in order to
bleeding blood
to bring the grave out, you have to put these pigs out, and you have to cut at them to sort of distract.
It's so like folk medicine, and the horse blood. Make sure you cleanse it with the horse blood.
Yeah, or even I even liked how
which would be holy water for us.
Well, and I think as someone that's like
in the States,
as a filmmaker and screenwriting, I'm having to figure out this mythology about back on Creep and how to fight this entity. And so I found it very interesting when they, without giving too much away, when they have that second coffin or the other coffin, and they do the stuff around it in that barn, and it
with the rice
it's able to escape it because it just goes straight up. So instead of because it can't break the sides. So I thought that was again that's a very logical way some kind of entity would escape that. So I think there's a lot of I mean, granted, there's points where like I don't know what's going on, but but
it's cool.
there's a again, I'm not gonna give anything away, but there's like a fireball type thing, and I'm like, what is happening? I don't know what's going on here, but it's beautiful.
Well, he's a shapeshifter, it's explaining partially like that's why I want to know like how does the kitsune relate to the gitsune? Because that was the name he used. So there's got to be some sort of.
I'll have to look. I just bought a book on Japanese folklore, so I'll have to look through that and see if it mentions anything about that.
Well, another thing that I really liked about this movie was that our characters had to rise above even their own speciality in the field of this particular field, right? Because this one threat was bigger than where they currently stood. So I like that they had to rise up to the occasion, especially the ones that were more on the selling the grave sites and doing that kind of stuff, as opposed to our shaman. And I like that. I like that, the underdog thing, right? They were basically all four of them at this point were underdogs, and they weren't in the first half, right? In the first half, they were, they even though they made a couple of mistakes, they knew what they were doing. They were, knew what was happening. They were in charge. But the second half, that rug got ripped out from under them, and they had to stand back up. And I liked that quite a bit. I thought that, especially what could have been huge sacrifices for them. They went a little soft on that, but I know why. It made sense in the movie, inside the context of the story. In the States, that wouldn't happen. They just.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it did kind of, it did. I mean, and I think, it also had elements of humor in it as well. So, but I think,
why are you all eating? Why are they concerned about what I eat?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what these characters felt very fleshed out and interesting. And you
authentic
could
even.
Yeah, and you could see just sort of see their arc, because there's even moments where the entity kind of makes them flash back to their lives and all the things they've dealt with and stuff. And so they all come up from different perspectives with different backgrounds. and as you go along, you learn more and more about them, and then more how they're having to step up and do. Because you have the one guy is always scared. You have the other guy like, I don't want to deal with it because I know it's evil. You have the other guy who's sort of like the cool dude with the tattoos, and you have the girl with the visions and stuff with the whose
with her
mom is always around.
Yeah, there's a good. I mean,
That's
it comes.
that was her family, wasn't it? Was that her family? Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
that was literally her mom at one point. Yeah, I like that we had Chekhov's mom in here. So.
Yeah, there's one. I think the one. Yeah, there was the one moment where their mom that kind of scared me, made me jump. But
in the car, or is it somewhere?
Yeah,
else?
in the car. Yeah. But yeah, I think. But again, this feels like it's got like a medicine cabinet of different medicines for everything.
It does,
because I mean,
it's
literally,
not bad. It works.
No. But it's not. But at the same time, it kept me intrigued because there's like there's a thing in the grave with a snake. I was like, what is that? I mean, there's like so many different moments of like, whoa, what is that? I mean, it kind of delves into the yokai. The Japanese yokai type stuff, or just I guess Asian folklore in general. But there's like all these kind of weird creatures and entities and stuff, and those type of folklores, and just the horror genre and Asian cinema in general that like you're just not used to. It's just, and they don't necessarily explain it.
Well, it makes me wonder how people in South Korea feel about the film. I mean, would they feel the same? Because they probably know what all this stuff is, so they might be like the opposite of us. They might be like,
would it be like, oh,
trying
really?
to throw,
or would it be more relevant?
I just wonder. I just wonder. Yeah, I would actually really like to know how they feel about it, because
well, I'm sure they probably
intriguing, but
they might enjoy the historical aspect of it. I'm sure. I'm not sure. Maybe in Japan they may take offense to.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, because basically that samurai was saying that Japan should own Korea, essentially. So that's kind of wild. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think the filmmakers feel that. Like I don't think that's
Crystal, I might have an answer for you, just since you brought the question up. Of course, this is according to Wikipedia. Take it as
okay.
But I mean, it's based on. Well, let me just say, it is the highest grossing Korean film of 2024.
Oh yay! Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep.
Okay.
And
there you go, Crystal.
97 million worldwide. So, and it's the sixth highest grossing, sixth highest growing film in South Korea film history. So I think it's a huge hit.
Good.
It's
That's
made
wonderful.
more than
that means they enjoy it.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I have one last question before we get into our scores and whatnot, and it's just to Crystal.
Okay.
Was this film ever scary?
Oh God. I'm the worst person for this. No, but that's just because when the moments were supposed to be scary, I was more fascinated by the way the samurai looked. I was like, show me more. I do that stupid shit. Like, and there's a hand there. I'm like I can actually see around it. I wish we could. Can't wait for the day for video to be like that, because there will be time. But I mean, there were some spooky moments. There were. I mean, I think that a lot of people will find this very scary and spooky. And I think that it builds a lot of tension. And honestly, I didn't really realize very many jump scares at all. So that's good. It didn't rely on that sort of stuff. There's just a lot of just creepy stuff. And honestly, just the way the story is told, I think the story itself is also very weird and spooky and crazy, because you're like, why did this guy listen to this monk? Why did, I mean, it's good, but it's not one of those films that I wouldn't say it's good because it's scary or spooky, even though it does have spooky moments.
Right.
I mean, those are just icing on the cake, I think.
Well, I mean, I'll have to agree as well. I mean, I think it is kind of creepy and spooky, especially when you're not knowing what's going to happen or what's going, and then they start revealing. I will say the ghost stuff didn't do anything for me. It just felt, and because they were hiding it so much in reflections, it just felt kind of safe and kind of boring.
It
But I
did.
think I think once we get to that second half, when we're dealing with the entity, kind of reminded me of the tall man from the Haunting of Hill House. Because I was like,
God, it was
I was
so
not
cool looking. It's like
expecting some
super
big
tall.
I was like, oh crap, I wouldn't know what to do if I was in that thing. It's
and that's in his bare feet too. Keep in mind.
I know. I was like, because I was like, I thought he's gonna look down that hole in the roof. I mean, I was kind of creeped out for the characters in that. So I think it definitely has those creepy, or even the creepy snake thing, which I was like, oh crap, what is that? Yeah. So there's some creepy moments. I will say there's one jump scare that did scare me, but as to overall being a scary film, it is definitely more spooky and creepy, especially again, once that second half kicks in, you're like, oh my God, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is in context with South Korean lore and stuff that we aren't privy to.
Yeah.
And I would imagine the more you are in that, especially with where people are buried and rituals, it'd be a lot scarier because it means something else.
They apparently take their burials very seriously.
Very seriously. And you can only cremate when you can't do it when it's raining. All right.
I'm like, Jesus. I was like, do I need to know all this stuff?
Well, they mentioned it was almost like feng shui or whatever.
Yeah.
There is a with the ghost part of it, the first half, there is a scene where one guy gets possessed and does something that is you know what's going to happen, and it's a little creepy and scary. But I agree with you. The scares are subdued, but the creepy level is amplified
and I think when it should be scary with that samurai, he's just so cool looking.
Right.
But I mean, I was just like,
the one scene actually does work, right?
Oh my God, he's so cool. I was just fascinated by him. I like, honestly, it was almost so cool looking. It took me out of the scene because I was like, oh, that is cool. The moment we saw his like mask, I knew immediately. I was like, oh my God. So it's a samurai. And that's all they showed was the helmet. And I was like, oh my God. And then you see his armor and I'm like, I loved that. Okay. I got to tell you, that's one of my favorite things. I just thought the whole thing was cool. And the way they made him
Crystal does love her some big men. So
yeah. And until they did that, I was wondering.
Too. I like it all.
Forget the Shark King paranormal entities.
I thought it was going to be a vampire until they said it wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, oh, it's going to be a hopping vampire. No.
He does like your liver with some Chianti.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, yeah, the liver thing. That was weird.
It must be some folklore thing.
I like that. Where's my liver? They took my liver.
Nice fresh liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
You got to do it. All right, so let's do this. Your score and your favorite scene.
I'm gonna give it a 3.75. And I will say, had it been shortened and tightened in the edits and made a little quicker, honestly, I could see this movie being like probably 4.5. If there weren't just these moments where I was like, because it was very good. Totally worth the watch. You should watch it if you've Shudder, which you should have Shudder. Absolutely check it out. God, my favorite scene. Oh yeah. I mean, I would say, oh God. I want to try. Oh, I really liked the Exorcist scene. It's not the Exorcist. It's nowhere near it. But that neck turning.
Yes.
I was like, so how am I going to do this? And he just does it just a little bit too much. And I'm like, okay. And then I don't know, the way it was done, I think was.
Well, they concentrate on the wrinkles. On the wrinkles on the neck.
And it wasn't like they didn't go all the way, and I think that was a smart decision. It just felt, it's like, that's uncomfortable, I mean, yeah, I can turn my neck really well, but I just felt like that was very successful, just how it was done. And then of course they did edit away and then back to it, and he's just turned more. I thought that was actually really cool. And the actor's face and stuff really worked for me. And then just how he felt.
And he's talking at the same time, right? He's telling us, he's telling us stuff.
Yeah.
He's telling us, about what eating through the wrist, right? Or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Weird. I like that scene as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sir G. Moore, your score and favorite scene for EXHUMA.
Well, I think it's, I mean, other than it being long and filling 2 films, I think it's really well done. There's a really cool shot, by the way, when the camera's rotating on the guy and then it
Oh
rotates inside
yeah.
of a tunnel. I was like, ooh.
I love those.
So I love some good transitions.
He just snuck in a little extra shot for himself there.
I know, it's like Christopher. But yeah, I'll give this film a 4. 4 out of 5 because I really enjoyed it. I think visually it's really well shot. It's well acted. I think it's just long in parts, and I think it could have taken the little chapters out of it. Would have made it shorter in general. But as for favorite scene, I mean, I'm gonna have to say when the big entity dude shows up outside.
Oh yeah,
that
outside the barn. Oh my god!
I actually kind of felt chills.
He's a
like
monster.
I felt chills a little bit like when I was watching. Probably not to the level of Haunting Hill House, but when that tall guy in the hallway, I felt a little bit of that there because I was like, I was not expecting. I mean, granted, we kind of knew something big was in that thing, but when that thing was outside, and they hide it, and they kind of hide it like Jaws, where you just see bits and pieces, and I was like, oh crap, what is going to happen here?
When you see the shadow and the stuff at the top of the room,
yeah, it's like she might as well just been in a dollhouse. So I was like, good.
Then later when you hear him running across the roof.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. Well, I think when she looks, I really fully expected her to look in that little hole
and see his face there.
The building. I was like, we're, so yeah, I think I was very tense in that scene. So I think it's a well done thing with a really cool entity I haven't seen in horror films.
And her acting in that scene was fantastic too.
Oh yeah, she's amazing
because she was so stoic throughout up until this point, and for her to drop to her knees and do what she had to do to survive.
Oh yeah, how she's
the impact was.
I was like, yes, girl, save yourself.
She was thinking like, well, yeah, Chris was like, I bow down to you, big dude.
No, don't.
Let me get you some 3 fish.
I know I'm little, and I know. Yes, I will get that. I will get that for you, sir.
I'm not human.
I would have just. You would have heard plop as my crap my pants. That's what I would have done in that situation. So I probably would not have laughed.
Oh, your britches.
He would have got free liver out of me.
He just pulls it out himself and hands it.
There you go.
Awesome. I'm going to give this a 4 as well. I would say that if it was 10 minutes shorter, if it was under 2 hours, just anything under 2 hours, I think the pacing of the first half kind of hurts the film a bit, but at the same time, the pacing pays off because the reward is you get to know these characters. So I don't know if the film. I'm a little nervous about like if you took some of that away, would it affect that? Obviously, they thought it would, so they left it in there. But so if it could have been a little bit more oomph in the beginning of the first half of it, I think this could easily be in my top 10 of the year. It still may be. It's definitely going to be an honorable mention. I really enjoyed this. My favorite scene was going to be what Christopher mentioned because I thought that scene it's a highlight. That's when you really that's when it hits the fan, ladies and gentlemen. Because what follows even hits it harder. If it's not that, it's going to be the tree scene where she lures the samurai away from the hill that he's protecting and talks to him as if she was the tree. I just love the whole discussion back and forth.
You're a tree god or something.
He's actually got pissed off. And then we also have the other guy who was connected to him, and he's repeating everything and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like when he's eating, they lure him with sweet fish. So they have those sweet fish, and then every time he eats one, the guy.
Sweet fish. What is that? Like fish. What? I'm like, I really want to know. Actually, I'm like, what are we talking here, guys?
I don't know.
A fish is probably only on that side of the world, probably.
Yeah. Something we'll never get to taste.
I don't know.
Well, I definitely don't want to see snakes with that type of head on it ever.
I
no,
don't know.
thank you.
I don't know.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. But anyway, so that's that was my next favorite scene, is that when she was acting like the tree, because she was putting herself out there in danger, and you felt it. It was tense, but the way he exchanged conversation with her, you know, thinking that it was really a tree until he realized it wasn't. But then it followed up with that her mom shows up, right? Her mom shows up, and her mom stops him just by being there, and he screams. I love that. I love that whole sequence. Of course, they were
shot.
Yeah, and they were because they had the back. It was backlit. They had the smoke. Because she was putting all the burning embers in it, and so
I thought it's funny too. Like, let's be real, it's funny at moments because the chicken thing. Well, you like fried chicken, so what's your deal? Like, why are you worried about?
Yeah, there's moments of levity, and it's needed. Yeah.
That was cute. Come on.
Yeah.
Just like,
And
but I don't want to eat
the
this chicken, Mom. Duh.
All right. Well, there you go. That is our review for EXHUMA, playing on Shudder
right now.
So check it out and let us know in the comments down below what you think of it. If you know any background that went right past us over our heads about this, Joseph, I might be talking to you. Let us know in the comments down below what all that was. I'd love to know more.
Oh yeah,
he knows everything.
He does.
Jerseys.
All right. Yeah. With that, Crystal, Christopher, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.
Always a blast.
All right, guys. He's got a shovel in his hand. He's ready. He's ready. Make sure they all point east or wherever was best.
Got to kill those snakes with the weird heads.
Don't go south. South was bad, right? Because he said it was.
North. You want your grave to point north and be in a good location. If it's just pointing north, it just might be a 65. You want a Hyundai. Okay?
Mine's going to be in a Taco Bell parking lot.
There you go.
Well, I mean, I like Taco Bell. Yo quiero Taco Bell.
On that note.
Okay.
Bye. Let's say good night. Good night, everybody.